All right, so this is the tutorial for the week 2 base model assignment in character creation. What we're going to do is we're going to set up our scene, import our image planes, and then start our modeling, if you will. All right, so let's go ahead and do, so I'm in Maya 2024, just hit new. All right, then what we're going to do is we are going to create, we're going to project window. We're going to make a new project. Anytime we have something new that we're going to create, we're going to make a new project for it. So project window, new, and this will be what we're working on to the very end. So I would just call it your last name and then underscore character, okay? Make sure that you put an underscore. You cannot put spaces. That will actually not work correctly. It'll act like it made a project folder, but it actually won't. You have to follow the same sort of syntax you would if you're writing code. So you also can't start with a number. Has to start with a alphanumeric or an underscore. Or sorry, not alphanumeric, just alpha. So anyways, location, I'm just going to go ahead and put this around the desktop because I just find that to be the easiest to do. You can leave all the rest alone. That's fine. So once we've done that, if you go ahead and minimize this, you will see that now you have a project folder called that, and it looks like this. What we want to do is put our image planes in here. So you should have made those last class. We're just going to continue on with that. So I'm just going to put in my, let me, so you can see where's view and medium icon. I'm just going to put my front and my side and my 3/4 view. And actually I'm going to copy those so I still have them in this folder. There we go. I'm going to put all 3 of those inside of there, and then I can use those to import. The only 2 I'm going to have to actually import are this, but it's good to have your reference as well. But just put those into source images. Then we can go back in here, and we're just going to go ahead and bring them in. Okay, so now what you want to do is hit spacebar, obviously, for the 4 panels. I just want to import it into this one. What you don't want to do is don't move your camera around. Don't hold like Alt and go like this, right? Because now you see this is off. If I go to put my image plane, it's going to do it based off the camera's current position. You can actually undo camera moves by using the bracket keys to the right of your P key. So that's actually, so you know how you can't undo? You can undo camera moves by using the brackets. You can go back and forth using those 2. In case you didn't already know that. It's a handy thing to know. All right, so I'm just going to go in here. We're just going to go to View, Image Plane, and then we're going to go ahead and import image, and this is what the front view. So I'm going to go front and open, voila. Same thing on the right side, View, Image Plane, import image, and we're going to do side, voila. Great. I'm going to tap spacebar here. We're going to Alt, middle, left, right, mouse button. You should know all that by now. What we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and push these back. So with this one selected, it's going to be in the attribute editor here, and I'm just going to go ahead and actually, you know what? We can just go ahead and do it here. So I just want to push this. I'm going to hit W. You can see I want to push this back on my Z or my X. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to type in -12. That was not what I wanted. Never mind. Where are you? Image center -12. There we go. Image center X -12. The reason why I did 12 is that if you look at the, these are actually centimeters by default, but the grid it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 12. Goes to 12. So I just want to push it back so it's all the way back there. And we're going to do the same thing here. Select this one, and this one is going to be on the Z or Z. Oh, that's weird. How come it's not giving me? Okay, well now we'll just do it down here, and we're just going to go ahead and do -12. Oops. See, this is forward. So that it looks like that. So that's pushed back this way, that's pushed back this way. And the reason why we want to do that is that way, if this, you'll see if the model is behind it, see I can't see it, right? So that's why we need to make sure that we do that. Because see, when it's in front of it, I can see it, but if it's behind it, I can't. So that's why I push these back. We'll just delete that. Actually, I don't need that. Okay, fabulous. Okay. Let's go ahead and just put both of these on. I'm going to turn off the waffle here, the grid. Select both of these guys. I'm going to put them on a new image plane, or on a new display layer. I'm just going to click the ball and paper here to the right. And we're just going to write and call these image planes. It's just that way we can lock them and they're not like in the way. Image planes, bueno, save. And I'm just going to click, so now they are referenced and I don't accidentally select them. Now, you might need to, if we look here, and I do, see how these actually off-center, see where the origin is? So I'm going to go ahead and unreference that. I'm just going to manually grab it, and we're just going to push it over till he is more or less centered. More than likely, you're not going to be able to get it perfectly centered. Just do the best you can with what you got. That looks pretty good. All right, so that one's fine. I'm going to go here. Oops, this one. And generally speaking, what you want to do, I'm going to make sure I have this one selected. I usually try to center it on basically the auditory canal, because it's kind of the center of the head. And usually when you're trying to balance a character, you draw a plumb line from the ear down. So we'll call that good. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and reference these. And now our image planes are in there. Fabuloso. Let me see something real quick. See, positive. So if you look, one of the problems I'm having right now is if you look, this guy's fine. But see how Z positive, if we look down here, it's pointing this direction? He's actually pointing backwards. So that's no bueno. I'm just going to rotate it. See, but if I go to rotate it, it's going to do that. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and put this back to 0. And then I'm going to rotate it. Let's see. Let's hit E, and we need to rotate on Y. So let's do 270 because it was 90 degrees and I wanted to do 180. Now it's going the right direction. And now I will do -12 again. Will that work? It will not. Okay, so we're just going to do -12 up here on the translate. Oh, yeah, that one I moved. That was right. Translate X -12. There we go. Okay, that should be good. So now he's facing the right direction. You could also just change the original image that it's facing the right way, and that should also work. I'm just going to go ahead and put these back to reference mode. And okay, so now we got those image planes in there. And the next thing we're going to do is box modeling. We're just going to start with the box like you would do. So we're just going to hit the cube. Now, our concern here is to get the general silhouette. I'm not looking to make this perfect. I'm just looking to get something in there because we're going to sculpt it and then retopologize it anyway. So I'm not as concerned about topology other than us being able to model what we're trying to create. Okay. So with that polycube selected, I make sure you have the channel box. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure this cuts this direction. So let's do 1. Let's see. Oh, I'm sorry, 2. Good. And that way it's sliced down the middle. So if you look at here, let's see how you can see that there's a slice down this way. Because I'm actually going to delete this other half. I don't really need that. The other thing I want to do is I'm just going to go ahead and on this one, we're going to do shading, and I'm going to do wireframe unshaded so that way I can see it when it's not selected. And I'm also going to do X-ray, and that way I can see through the model and see the guy behind it. Okay, now what I'm going to do is just delete this half and right click, drag down to the face. Now, just so you are aware, you don't have to hold and drag and go up here. Watch, if I just flick, I can go to vertices, object, edges, face. I'm just clicking and flicking. Okay, so I'm just going to grab, click and drag, and delete. Okay, so now we only have this half, and if you look, you can see that it is very clearly only on that. Actually, you know what? We'll leave that now I think about it. Okay, so all I'm going to do is just go ahead and move this. I'm going to put on symmetry up here, and we'll do object X, and that way when I grab this, it will move the other side accordingly. All right, so typically what I like to do is I like to try to put it at the hips because that's basically where most of the motion and stuff is driven from. So we're just going to go ahead and I'm going to hit R for scale, and I'm just going to grab it only on this axis and go wide, and I'm just going to try and match it up to his hips here, right, his iliums. All right, so then we're going to go over here, and you can see it is not very good, so we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to hit W, move it back, and I'll hit R and only scale it in the depth, and we'll go like that. And I'm going to do the same things before: shading, X-ray, shading, wireframe unshaded, and that way I can kind of see it. Okay. So now we have a box. That is great. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to hit F to frame so that focused on it. Now what we want to do is I'm just going to extrude up and make the other pieces. Okay, so I'm going to select this one, go here, and we're going to go ahead and we could hit this. Where are you? It's not up here. Well, if you wanted to have the, oh no, there it is right there. We can click on that for the extrude, or you can just hit Control E or Command E, and then I'm just going to pull that straight up. And I can kind of see. So what we're going to look for is we're going to look for peaks and valleys, right? So if you look, you can kind of see like here's kind of a peak, and then right here is roughly one. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to switch to the Move tool, hit W. I'm just going to pull it down. Then I'm going to switch to Vertex, and I'm just going to grab this and kind of push this in so that looks a little bit better. I'm going to switch to this view, and you can kind of see that this goes a little bit like that, and then we'll put this one kind of up like that. We'll go like that-ish, okay? Looks great. Now we're going to go back, still have those faces selected, and I'm going to go ahead and extrude again, hit Control E, pull this up, and let's just go roughly, let's say his armpit, okay? I'm going to go back to Vertex, grab these two, W, and I'm just going to pull it roughly to that spot, switch to the side view, go here, and I'm just going to pull this roughly to here, and we'll put this roughly right and I'm gonna see, maybe I can put this like here, just so that these are a little bit more like what the torso looks like. Yeah, that's probably fine. Okay, so you can see we got this. This looks pretty amazing. Okay, so next we're going to do is I'm just going to go back to faces here, and I'm just going to go ahead and extrude again. Control E. Oops, I think I hit Control S. Control E, and we're just going to extrude up, and I'm just going to extrude up roughly to where his clavicles are. Go to vertex, and I'm actually going to pull this in a little bit, like so. We'll switch to the side view here, and I'm going to grab this one, and we'll kind of go like that. I'll grab this one, kind of go like that. Right, that looks acceptable. I'm just going to move this down a little bit more. Right, and if we hit 3, we can kind of get a rough idea of a sort of torso shape. Right, nothing too fancy there. Fabuloso. Okay, let's go ahead, and we need to now do we need to now do the legs and crotch. Okay, now generally speaking, when we are doing modeling, like just basic box modeling, I like to do it something like this. Okay, if I take a regular cube, right, and if this gets subdivided, okay, we're going to make a couple of these actually, just so you get the idea. If I make this subdivided, so we poly smooth it, and that was not poly smooth. That must be, oh, that's reduction, and I don't see it. Okay, so I don't see it here. So if you want something on your shelf and it's not on there, you can always go to, I'm going to go modeling menu set. I'm going to go to the mesh, and we are going to go to maybe edit mesh. Where are you? Poly smooth. I really think it should be on mesh. Smooth. Sorry, it's poly smooth is the actual name of the function. Anyway, if I hold Control and middle mouse button click, Control and Shift, oh, did I not do the right one? Oh, that's weird. Apologize. Weird. Oh, that is it. They changed the icon. Odd. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and right-click on that and delete that one. All right. So we got that there. That looks fine. Now, if I poly smooth it, what you're going to see is it cuts, just so we get an idea here, it cuts it in half, right? So it takes what was 4 faces, and it now becomes 4 sides, and now becomes 8 sides, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So cut it this way, cut it that way, and then it cuts that way and that way, right? For each one of those faces. So you can see kind of what's happening, right? So if I grab this one, the corresponding, oops, I don't know what happened there. Weird. Okay, I'll just get rid of that. The corresponding, where are you? The corresponding thing is those faces to this face. Okay, Control D. Then we do it again, and we poly smooth it. Okay, you'll see that each one of these 4 will become 4, and and so then you end up with basically 16. Okay, so it multiplies each time. But what's nice about this is that what you can end up doing is that means, like, if I were to just take, these 4 here, okay, and we were to pull them out, what you're going to notice is that basically that 4 would fit into these 4, right? And then one of these ones would fit into that one. So basically what we want to do is we just kind of do like square roots of each one of them. So what I want to do when we're doing our blocking here, I'll grab all 3 of these, is I want to basically make it so that this is my largest area, right? We want to try and make everything even. So before I bother trying to take the arms and legs off, because I want these each to be 8 around, I'm going to make this one so it's 16 around, okay? So with this selected, I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to poly smooth it, and you can see, right? That looks acceptable. And then the other problem we're going to run into, though, is that if I go like this, you will see I put these 4 to make a leg, but look, there's no crotch, and I don't think he'd appreciate that. So we're just going to go ahead and make one right here. I'm just going to use the multi-cut tool or poly-cut tool or whatever they're calling it these days, and we're just going to start here, go here, just going to make sure that we have something for a crotch. Now, I'm not too worried. Obviously, this is an n-gon, or I'm sorry, a try. That's not something we really want, but that's fine. Okay. So now we have a crotch, and I can basically make the legs come off of this. So a neat little trick is I'm going to grab this. So we have basically, if you look at that, that's 8 total. A nice little handy tool we can use as well is if I go up to display and go to heads up display, we want to turn on poly count. That will actually tell me how many I have selected. Okay, so see it says 16. So it might be a little bit confusing because you'll see these numbers and like, why are there 3 rows? So it says 16 because it's selecting both sides right now. So really it's 8. That's why we're getting this. So this is of the components you have selected. These are of the objects that you are currently highlighting, and these are all the objects in the scene. So currently there's only one object, so that's why you're seeing the same thing twice. But if there was another object, just so you get an idea, let me just make another one real quick. Right, and then we'll just go back to edges. See now that there's different ones here, right? Because there's another object, so we'll just get rid of that. But I just wanted you to get the idea. Okay, so I have that. I want to circularize it, just because it might make it a little bit easier. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. I think it's a neat little tool. So you just go to Edit Mesh, go Circularize, and you can see what it does is it tries to basically make it a circle, which if you look at your leg, it's somewhat circular-like. So that can be kind of handy for, like, trying to do a neck and things like that. They do have these little options here, so we could try to offset. That's not helpful. Radial offset, that's also not helpful. Twist is usually the one that I find I have to adjust because I just want to make this a little bit more straight. That looks fine. Good. Okay, so now we have circularized that. Let's go ahead and circularize everything that we need. So we're also going to need it for the head up here as well, right? So I'm just going to go here, 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 and we'll just hit G because it's the last thing we did. Voila, there's circularized. Looks good. Now we need to do the arm. Let me see. Oh, look at it. See, it's crooked. That's the problem with doing some of this stuff. So I'm going to try doing this real quick. I'm going to turn off the symmetry. We'll try it again. G. Oh, let's try and do that function. Okay, so Edit Mesh, Circularize. Dang it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just hit R, and we'll just scale it flat like that. If you scale something, perpendicular to the surface you want flat, then it will become flat, which is good. Okay, I'm going to put this back on symmetry. Okay, that looks good. Now we need to do the arms. So I just wanted to see the arms here, and I'm trying to think if I want to actually go right from the top of this. I guess I do. Normally this isn't the way I would do it, but we're just boxing this out, so it's not as big of a deal. So we're just going to go ahead and go like that, and I'll just hit G. And that didn't really do what I was hoping for. So let's try that again. Mesh display. I don't know what I just did. Mesh display circularize. Okay, good. All right, that looks acceptable. Let's just move it down a little bit. All right. Oops. Move that down a little bit. Okay. All right. So now we have basically circles for all of our appendages that will now come off. Okay. I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to grab these. So I can paint select by holding tab and clicking and dragging. So this happens quite often. Notice how this side is not symmetrical. Even if it's slightly off, that doesn't work. So once in a while, it's a good idea to just quickly flip it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is switch to this view, make sure you're on faces, click and drag. All right, let's try that again. Click and drag the halfway mark, and I got to turn symmetry off. Whoops. Okay, click and drag the halfway mark, and we will delete. I'm just going to make sure I didn't get anything extra or miss anything. Looks like we're fine. Good. Just to really make sure that that line is straight, I'm going to double click on this edge loop that goes around the center line. I'm going to hit R for scale, and I'm just going to scale it perpendicular. Just a couple of times just to make sure. Great. I also want to make sure that the center is on this, so I'm going to hold W just for the move tool. I'm going to hold D for move pivot and V for point snap. I'm just going to click and drag this and drag it back. Voila. So now that is centered. Okay. All we're going to do now is just duplicate it. I like to just set up a duplicate special. So just go to Edit, where you duplicate special, hit the option box, and we're just going to make it, let's just make it an instance. That is fine. We just want to take the scale. This is when there's 3 things, that means X, Y, and Z. So in this case, we want to scale on X. So I'm just going to type in -1, and then we'll hit duplicate special, right? So now I'm just going to go ahead and delete that. If I hit this, and instead of just hitting Control D, which will make me a duplicate, I'm going to hit Control Shift D, which is duplicate special. So anytime I need to reverse or flip something, I can just do that real quick. Okay? All right, fabulous. I'm actually going to go ahead and combine these, just because in order to extrude this neck properly, I'm going to need to be able to do that. Yeah, so I'm just going to select them both. We're going to do Mesh Combine, which is this right here, or you go to Mesh Combine. We're going to right-click to Vertices, select all the vertices, and then we're going to go to Edit Mesh, and we want to do Merge. I want to hit the option box, though, because right now it's set up to 0.01. So that threshold, what that means, let me space it out. that means that 0.1, this is 1. So if it's 0.1, that means up to 1/10 things will merge together. So let's try this real quick just so you can see. This may be fine on this one, but where are you, merge? Just had it a second ago. There you go. Merge, option box. Let's hit apply. So it looks like everything was fine. But if I had things that were closer together, so like watch, if I take this guy and we just scale it a little bit closer, okay? That's not crazy close. And then if we do it now, God bless it, now it makes me look like an idiot. But if they're close enough, what'll happen is that those two will merge, okay? So what I like to do with mine is just so that you set up the defaults, just go to edit mesh, go to merge, and just put an extra 0 in there. So it's 0.001. That way it will only merge like ones that are within 100th, and that should be good enough. They basically have to be on top of each other. Then we'll just hit merge. Okay. So now if we grab these center vertices, you'll see that they are indeed merged, and it's one piece. Okay. Just get used to being able to do that very quickly. But you can see, right, it's not a terrible torso. It needs a little bit of work, but we're just trying to get a body shape in there. Okay. So that looks acceptable. Let's go ahead and do the leg first. We're just going to go ahead and grab this. So I'm just going to hold tab, which is paint select. We're going to put symmetry back on too. Boom. Okay. I'm going to hold tab, which is paint select, and there's click and drag. And then we're going to go ahead and hit Control E, W. I'm going to pull this all the way down to the base of his leg here. So I'm just going to go like this, like that. We're going to hit R, and I'm just going to scale it flat. Okay. And then we'll just go down here, and I'm just going to roughly scale it to kind of where his ankle should be. Something like that, we'll say. And that looks acceptable. Now, this could also be a little bit better circularized. See how it's get a little bit whatever. So we're just going to go ahead and I believe this will still work even if it's faces. It does. There you go. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and do circularize again. I'll hit R, and we will scale that flat again, and that looks considerably better. Okay, let's go ahead and do the arms. We're just going to do, it's best to work broad to specific, although I got a little bit specific on this, but that was because I needed the geometry. Okay. So I've got that selected. Let's just, actually we'll do it from here. We'll just hit Control E. I'm just going to pull this straight out. Now you'll notice that when we pull it straight out, based on the manipulator, the handle that they give us, it does it based on normal angle, right? Which means it's going to get wider. So I'm actually better off just immediately switching to W and pulling it straight, okay? And then while we're here, we're just going to go ahead and do Edit Mesh Circularize again, although it wasn't terrible, but still. I'm going to hit R for scale, and I'm just going to scale it flat like this. And then we're going to go to this view, and I am going to move it down here. Actually, with this, what we're going to do is a little bit different. I'm going to rotate it because my arm... So we are going to model in A position as opposed to the T position, right? So T would mean the arms are straight out. A means they're kind of like an A. So I'm going to go like that, and then I'm going to scale it. So I'm going to rotate it and scale it. I'm just going to try and get this to be roughly maybe where the bicep comes out, right? So it's going to need more geometry up here, but this is fine for now. So we'll just try to get it close to what that needs to be. Let's rotate this a little bit more. Scale this a little bit more. Okay. This is not the way I would normally do it, but okay. There we go, and we'll Control E and W. Immediately pull it down to where the wrists are, and we're going to again rotate this roughly in the right direction, and we're going to scale it on the center, so it's something like that. Fabulous. Okay, so now you can see this is a nice looking guy. This is about as good as it gets. All right, call Pixar. We're ready. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do the head here. I'm going to hold tab, click drag. I'm going to hit R for scale and just scale it flat, so it's flat. And then we're going to go ahead and extrude it. Extrude, Control E. Let's go ahead and pull this up. Because it's flat, I can just use that manipulator because the normals are all the same angle. Let's go to this view, and that's too high. So let's just pull that down a little bit. We'll say roughly there. I'm going to hit scale to scale it in. Now, this one's not going to scale correctly because what it's doing is it's scaling it based on the symmetry. So you actually have to turn it off for the center elements and then reselect everything. And then see how now the pivot's in the center? So that way we can scale it more correctly. Okay. So we'll scale it like that. We're going to move it down a little bit. We're doing, okay, let's go to the side view, see what that looks like. And we're going to scale it, or we're going to rotate it slightly. And usually heads actually kind of come forward a little bit. go like that. That's probably fine. Great. Okay. Now he needs a head. And so, again, we're just going to do this real rough. So I'll do Control E, W. Just going to pull this up. Okay. And that is a flat top and then some. Okay. Actually, let's go over this way. And I'm just going to rotate this kind of flat. Pull it up here. Okay. That looks acceptable-ish. That's some good modeling right there. Okay. Let's go ahead and grab this one. I'm just going to pull this up a little bit so it looks a little bit more like it's round. I'm going to grab every other one of these. And we're just going to pull these down a little bit just so it gives a little bit more of a roundish feel. Yay. Okay. That is a nice looking head. All right. So let's just give him more of a head. So we're just going to go ahead and go like this. I'm going to do the multi-cut tool. I need to cut a slice across. So I'm going to hold Control and I'm going to click right there. Okay. Then what we're going to do is I need to grab all the way across. So we do this a couple ways. You just click and drag. Make sure you don't grab everything above. You could also click, hold Shift, double click, and that will go all the way around. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control E, and we're going to go ahead and just scale this wider. And let me see something real quick. Okay. All right. So that looks less than acceptable, but it's there. Okay. So then we'll hit R for scale. We'll scale this down a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is just manually grab these verts, and we're just going to move them around so that they are roughly, oops, that was not what I meant to do. Can I do this? That did work. Great. Okay. All right. And we'll just go like that, and we'll pull this guy down here like this, and then this one will come like that. That looks amazing. Okay. Then we're going to do is I'm going to double click this edge loop, and I'm just going to scale this in so that it's a little bit more correct. Double click this one, scale this one in as well. Okay, and we have kind of a rough block of it. This is a really good looking character. Okay, where are we at? Okay, so 27. All right, so let's go ahead and got kind of a rough approximation, but we're still missing hands and feet. So let's just go ahead and get those done. I'm just going to go here, and to do this is going to be a little bit different. So we could extrude different ways here. So the one way of doing it is like this. It's basically two main directions. One of the things I also maintain too, notice that when I'm making my model that I have a front edge, right? This is the center if I look at it from the front. And I also have a center on the side. That's why I like doing 8 edges is good, because it gives us a center sideline, right? And it gives us a center midline. And most of my stuff is like that. We want to try and maintain that as much as possible because it just makes it easier to kind of keep, just like we have a line of symmetry here. Just makes things easier to kind of keep it clean. All right. So that being said, there's 2 main ways to basically approach feet. Well, there's 2 wrong ways. So one is you extrude it like this, pull down like that. Don't do this. And then I grab these 2. All right. And then you pull it out, okay? The problem is that these end up being like, they almost look like, let me make this wider so you get an idea. They almost look like what I would call big bird feet, where it's like, it's a tree trunk that comes down. If you look at the topology, even though I'm not super concerned about it, it's like a tree trunk that comes down and then like things stick out of it. It has no flow. It doesn't look correct, okay? And if we hit 3, you can see I get a nice heel, right? The heel's strong. But see how this is like super wimpy. It's not very good. Okay. Another way of doing it, let's hit 1, is this. You do the let's hit 3 real quick. Okay, good. You do this where you grab this, Control E, W, and you do. I must have grabbed. I did grab something extra. Okay. Control E, W. You go like this, and then I call this like the sock approach because it looks like a sock. We'll just scale it like that, and then you Control E, W, and then you kind of pull this out and then flatten it, right? Now, if you look at this, this has a nice flow going down and over. See how the edge loop comes over and across? But you end up with a really weak heel. See how like it looks like a sock now? It looks like something like a doll. Not super great. So what we want to do is something sort of in between. And that's what we're going to do. So, 1. Okay. Gotta make sure we go far enough. Did I go far enough? I did. Okay. So I think right now, let me see. Is this going all the way to the heel? It is not. It's going to the ankle. Okay, good. So what I'm going to do instead is this. I'm going to grab the back two. This one, we're going to put symmetry back on. Okay, grab the back two. I'm going to hit Control E, and then we're going to go ahead and pull those down. Okay, and I'm going to put them right down to where the heel is, like so. Boop. Okay. Then what we're going to do is I'm going to grab these two edges, and we're going to take these, and we're just going to kind of pull them down like that. Then we're going to grab, I'm going to click off, I'm going to hold tab. Okay, grab these, and then we're just going to extrude Control E and W and pull it straight across. And then I'm just going to scale flat so that they're flat. And then it's just a matter of like shaping them so they're not so bad. Let's just do that real quick. Grab all of those, and just kind of push that back so it's kind of round. You get the idea, right? Okay. They need a little more work, but you get the idea. Now, what's nice about this is, let's grab these two as well. It's down. There we go. What's nice about this is that I get a strong heel. So if you look, right, see this goes straight down. But I also get the smooth flow here. So it's a little bit of both. And if you see here, see how like when it's smooth, this looks more foot-like. Still get strong heel, still get my flow across. I get best of both worlds. So that's why we model it that way. All right. Let's just make this look less bad. So I'm just going to go ahead and, yeah, see, this is super great. Let's just scale that up a little bit. It's a little bit off. Okay. Let's take you, put you this way, move you over here. Okay. And then we'll take this and put this back this way. And then we're going to take these bottom ones, and this has just got to go down. Just moving points, and then we'll just add another edge loop. Select the multi-cut tool, hold Control, doink. I'm going to grab these, W, and just kind of push these down a little bit. That's my puppy. You can probably hear. I think she's got to go out. She's going to the bathroom inside. And so you can see we got a rough foot. It looks pretty bad this way as well. So let's just go ahead and I only got a couple more minutes before she's going to go. Let's see. Don't do it. Don't do it, Loaf. That's her name, Loaf, like bread loaf. Okay. All right. Okay. So, good. That looks like feet. And let's just make this a little bit better, just a little more polish on the leg, just because, you know, there should be a bend and stuff. So, go to a side view, and we're going to hit Y, because that's the last tool we did was the multi-cut tool. And I'm going to hold Control, and we're going to click here. I'm going to hit Q. I'm going to go to edges, double click on this edge. I'm going to hit R for scale. I'm just going to make sure it's scaled flat, so it's a little bit easier to work with. Push it forward a little bit. That looks okay. And then I'm looking at this thigh. This looks super thin. So one of the things that we did is we did circularize, but if you actually were to look at your thigh, it's actually not that much of a circle. It's actually a little bit more oval. So we're actually going to scale this a little bit wider this way. That looks a little bit better. Okay. That's not great, but it's a good rough version of it. Okay. Next are the hands and the elbow and all that jazz. So let's go ahead and let's just add, we'll do it from the side view here. I'm just going to add an edge loop here, so I'll hit Y because that was the last tool I did. Go roughly where it is. Grab that edge loop. Boop. And now you can see, if I try to scale this flat, it doesn't really quite work, right? I need it to stay at this angle. So what I could do is if you hold D, I can actually hold D and then rotate the pivot to roughly what I want. So perpendicular like that. I'm going to let go. Now when I scale it flat, it's going to scale it flat to that angle. Okay. Now the only thing with this is that you're going to want to, I think I can do it here. Symmetry, camera based. You're going to want to reset it. Here we go. Custom. So go back to object. Okay. So you're going to want to go, if you go to the modeling toolkit, go down to the settings, scale settings. You can see it'll be on custom once you do that. You're just going to want to switch that back because otherwise it'll keep being that. I think you can also do it through the tool settings here. You could just change this from custom as well. So either way. But anyway, it's a handy thing to do when you're trying to make a certain orientation. Okay. That looks acceptable. All right. Let's go ahead and I'm just going to take this and push this out a little bit just so it looks a little bit more arm-like. This guy looks terrible. And next would be basically the hand. Now the hand we're not going to model super great because it's just going to be difficult to do that. So we're actually going to model the hand separately and then stick it on. Okay, so to do that, what I'm going to do is go ahead and use a cube, bring this over here. This video is getting long, so I apologize for that. We're going to scale this a little bit flat. Okay, this will be kind of like our palm. All right. And now, mind you, what I need to do is that this will be my wrist, right? It's going to have to fit this. I'm not going to do it, but it's 8 is what it's going to equal total. Okay, so this is a cube, so I'm just going to take it, and I'm just going to go ahead and poly smooth it. Oh, that's why I couldn't find it, because it was right here. They just changed the logo. I haven't used 2024 yet. Okay, so good. So now it's got that. But you see, I don't really like how rounded it is, so I just want to smooth it, but without that. So I'm going to go to the multi-cut tool, and I'm just going to put a really tight line to come on, man, there. Oh, you dirty dog. Moved on me. God bless it. Losing faith. I'm losing faith. Let's go with. Why is it cutting across? The thing is, oh, you know what? It might just be the symmetry. Let's turn that off. So I'm just going to put one really tight here. I think it was the symmetry was somehow throwing it off. Okay. And now when we go to poly smooth it, you'll see that it will be a little bit better. Not perfect, but at least that way it's not so rounded this direction. I'm just going to go to edges. I'm going to grab this one, I'm going to hit, don't hit delete. If you hit delete, notice it leaves the vertices. See the vertices are still there? So you have to do is hit Control Delete, and that will remove the vertices as well. Very common thing that people seem to mess up quite a bit. I also don't need these, and I don't need these. This actually can all go away. So what we can do is I'm just going to grab these 4. So I'm just going to hold tab, go boom, 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 boom. Then I'm going to hit Shift and then the greater than symbol. Those are the two things to the right of your M key, which will expand it, and then I'll hit Delete. Okay, because that's just going to be a hole that's going to go into this anyway, so that's fine. Over here, I just don't want these edges, so I'm going to double click this, double click this, double click this, double click this, click, 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 Control Delete, and now I'm back to the original 4 there. Okay, yay. Okay, and also this is a bit. I'm going to double click on that. This is a bit. I want it more like that shape, right? Because this is going to be like my palm. So picture your palm. It's kind of a rounded, flat thing here. Okay, so that will be our palm. We need to make fingers go off of it. Now, the way I'm going to do this is I think I'm going to leave everything as quads. The reason for that is just that it'll be easier. That's basically what it comes down to. So I have to be at 8 here, right? So that means that, and I can't put a finger here, 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 because that would be weird. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do rectangle fingers. And I'm just going to use the multi-cut. And I'm just going to go from here to about midline, here, 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 and then back there. Okay, and then just hit enter. And then now you'll see if we did, there's one finger, this will be another finger, that'll be another finger, that'll be another finger. So every finger is going to be 6 sides. Okay, it'll just be easier for us to do. Because I believe, yeah, because if I went across, that would be too many to do. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Okay, so I'm going to go to the cylinder here, but we're going to go to the create. So if I click on cylinder, you're going to see it's going to make a cylinder. It's going to make it this many sizes. Now I can, on my own, go here, go to the poly cylinder, and just go ahead and make this, let's say 8, but I actually need 6. Let's say we did 6, okay? But the problem is if I make another cylinder, it's still going to be that many. So what we're going to do is if we go to create, though, and I go to polygon primitives and go to cylinder, polygon primitive cylinder option box, and I change this to 6, okay? And hit create. Yay, right? But now, if I go to, well, actually, if I just click on this, that'll be the default. So whenever you switch the settings, if you want to keep those settings, just make sure you actually put them in the option box. Okay, so here's our finger. It's pretty fat. Let's go ahead and we are going to rotate this 90 degrees that way on Z. So I can just type in 90. That would work. You could also do it this way. You could hold J for increment, and you see it'll do in 15-degree increments. If we go to the tool settings, you can see where the increments are. Where are you? I don't see where it is. Maybe I gotta hold it while it comes up. Oh, there it is. So right here is the 15 degrees. If I hold J, you can see it. Okay, 15 degrees is usually pretty good though. Okay, so that looks fine. The other thing I want to do is that if you look, you can see I'm going to have two edges going the lateral way, not this way. So you can see I actually have an extra edge on the top and bottom and not on the side. So we actually have to rotate it sideways. So I'm just going to hold J and go boom, boom, till the top and bottom are flat. So I think it's just 30 degrees, right? So see this top flat, bottom's flat, but now the pointed edge is on the sides. Next thing we need to do is we need to make this quads just to make it a little bit simpler. Doesn't super matter. I don't care which ones you grab because it's not going to be even anyway. So we're going to grab every other one and hit delete. Doesn't really matter. This side is going to be no faces. So we'll just hold tab, go whoop, hit delete. So now we just have this kind of weird bucket shape. All right, that'll be a finger for it. So we'll hit R for scale. What I'm going to do too is I'm going to hold D and V. I'm going to point snap it to the base of this. So that way it scales from the base. And now what we're going to do is bring it over here. I'm going to hit F to frame, and we'll see it lined up pretty well right off the bat. Look at that. It's like magic. Okay. Let's go ahead and scale this. Boom. All right. And another thing that's a problem too is that if you look, it's round. If you actually, your fingers, they're actually flatter this way and less the other way. So one of the problems is right now, you can see if I try to scale this, see it's using its old orientation. I just need to freeze the transform. If I go modify freeze transformations, it's going to reset it. And so now I can kind of go like this a little bit if I so desire. Okay. I'm going to grab, not you, I'm going to grab this thing's top face and bottom face. I'm just going to scale them out a little bit wider like that. And then I should back this up a little bit. So it's a little more like that sort of shape. Just if you look at your finger, just point it towards yourself. You'll see what I'm saying. It's not round. In general speaking, for any of you that are into drawing, the best way to draw hands is not as like sausages, which is a really common thing people do. It's actually to draw them as planes. So think of them as flat shapes, not as rounded ones. You'll have a lot more structure that way. All right, so we'll grab the edge here. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this forward. Might be easier to actually do this from above. Okay, so we'll say something like that. I'm just going to picture myself doing the pointer finger. And I'm just going to R for scale and scale it slightly down, right? Because you'll notice that your finger gets a little bit thinner. That might be a little much. A little bit thinner as it goes outwards. Okay. That looks amazing. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is put in the midline here. So we'll go to the multi-cut tool. We're going to click here. And we'll go like that. That's pretty great stuff. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is take this whole thing. And I am going to move my pivot over here. And we're just going to rotate it down a little bit. Just so it has a little bit of structure, a little bit of get-go. Okay, let's go ahead and grab this, and we'll just go down like that. Okay, and just so it looks a little bit more pointy. Now, here's the thing. I could start to put in more edge loops, but we're not actually going to deform this. We're going to take this, what we're modeling, and sculpt it. And generally speaking, I want when you're sculpting in particular, you want all of your faces to be the same size. So if you look, these are already bigger or smaller than these anyway, and they're not even to scale yet. It's going to scale down a little bit. So I'm not going to actually add more geometry here. It would just be a waste because we're going to sculpt on top of it and end up throwing this away. This is just the base that we're looking to sculpt from, okay? So I'm not as concerned about that. So we'll call that good for that finger, and then we're just going to basically duplicate this. Let's pull this out of the way here. We're going to duplicate it for the other one. So just Control D, move it over, Control D, move it over, Control D, move it over. Okay, and I hit a button. I didn't know what I did. Okay, so I'm going to put wireframe on shaded just so I can kind of see a little bit better. And we need to scale and move and rotate all these things. So I'm going to take this and I want to be a little bit closer. And this is my middle finger, so I'm going to scale it up a little bit. And we'll scale it this way just a touch. It's not perfect. And normally we do this kind of in a cup situation, which means I'm going to rotate this slightly down. And then we're going to grab this and we're just going to rotate this slightly down as well. So D, and I'm just going to grab this because this will move in both planes, but not the other one. Go like that. Man, keep hitting the wrong button. Okay, take this one and move you over. Now, generally speaking, this is usually slightly bigger. Your ring finger is slightly bigger than your pointer finger, but not hugely so. Rotate this down a little bit more than the previous one, so we'll say something like that. And same thing as before. Just grab like this, hold D, move the pivot roughly to where that joint is, and just rotate it a little bit more. Okay. Good. All right. Now it's this guy. This one is the pinky. I think you know the pinky. Pinky's small, so we're just going to make this considerably smaller. Like that. Hold this over. Okay. Rotate it down. More than the last one. Grab these bottom ones. Move the pivot like here. Go a little bit more than the other one. Okay? Something like that. Now, a couple other things that are a problem is that you look, it's flat. It actually wouldn't be flat. So this should go this way just a little bit. These both go this way a little bit. And this one goes even more. Like that. Okay? So it should be a little bit rounded. Also, it's not flat this way. So we're going to take these two and just move these up a little bit. Okay? So we want to make it look kind of dynamic. And actually, we're going to take these three and move these all down a little bit, like that. You'll be slightly above, like that. That looks better. Okay? And usually, you know, sometimes there's a little bit of something, a little bit of that way too. Not a ton. If you're trying to do smaller increments, the larger you make your manipulator, the more precise you can be. So for instance, if I do minus, it's minus and plus to make it bigger and smaller. So if I do smaller, watch, I have a really hard time doing a little bit, right? But if I make this much larger, see how I have a lot more control? It's much more precise. So it's not just good to make the manipulator bigger or smaller just so you can grab it, but also because it makes it more precise. You can also use the numbers. You'll find that as you get more and more advanced, you start using numbers instead because you can just really fine-tune things. Okay, but for some we're doing right now, we're just kind of banging it out, so it's not that big of a deal. All right, so those look acceptable. I'm going to grab this one, duplicate it, and this will be a mouse tool that we'll save for later. That's just we're going to use it for the thumb. Okay, so let's grab all all four of these. It was in a terrible accident, so grab all four of these. We're going to go ahead and do mesh combine, badoink, which is this one here, and now we're just going to merge these together. Should be relatively easy. So I'm going to right click, go to vertices. Right, vertex, and you want to go to mesh tools, and we want to do target. Well, hit the option box. You'll see there are two options for this. There's target and center. Target's super handy. So like watch, if I click here and I drag to this one, it's going to merge it across to it. In my case, what I'm trying to do is I want to merge all these center ones. Okay. Should have put these closer together. Trying to think, is that what I want to do? You know what? Actually, I'm not going to do that. I was going to show you because you can do center, and center will go in between. See that green dot? But I think what we're going to do actually instead of using that, so we'll just bridge across them. I think we'll actually have a better look that way. So I'm going to go to edges, click on this one to this one, not that one. This one, this one, this one, this one. And we're going to do Bridget, my least favorite cousin. So click on this. She's okay, but she's my least favorite. This one, this one, this one, this one, and then hit G because it was the last thing that we did. Right, so there's Y and there's G. Y brings open or opens up the last used tool, something you have to do and you have to click on it. So if I hit Y, it's actually gonna not do anything. Oh, I look like an idiot. Y will bring up last tool. G executes the last function. So this and this and this. So if it's something that just happens, you hit G. Boom. Okay. So now those are all connected. See, it's basically that worthless skin in between your fingers. Looks good. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to double click this edge loop. You're going to see it's going to go all the way around. Then we're going to hit Control E. I'm going to hit W for move and just push this in. And now you can see we have all of our fingers attached. Looking good. Let's go ahead and sort of scale this a little bit tighter. I'm not going to make it completely flat, but that looks a little bit better. The next thing I'm going to do is, this is too many edges. 18. Can't do that many. So we're going to go ahead and click on this, and we're going to collapse these. Okay, so we could do target well, but that's a lot more work. This is collapse. So I'm going to click on that guy. It's also under edit mesh. Yeah, right here, collapse. Click on this one, then I'll say G. G. So basically all of the areas in between, those are the ones I'm collapsing. So see the spot in between them? This G, this G, this G. Okay. So now if I double click, see I have 12. That is that's good. Because if I go over here and double click, 12. Right? So those will match up. This will match up with that, which is what we wanted. Hooray. Okay. So now I got that. There's obviously a space between these fingers and the thumb. So we're just going to extrude again. Push this back a little bit. And I'm going to make this a little bit wider. This feels all a little bit thin there. Okay. And then the thumb will come out of here. But we need that space in between. So I'm going to grab this again. Take Control E. And go across. Actually, you know what? Let's not do that. Undo that. Hit 3 to make sure that you don't have anything extra. You know what we haven't done this entire time for like an hour? I haven't saved anything. So let's go ahead and do that. Control-Shift-S or Command-Shift-S if you're on a Mac. It should automatically go to your scene. See how it says Cone Character Scenes? And we'll just call this character model underscore V01. V stands for version, and then we just do 01 because we're just trying to make sure. Sometimes the numbering gets weird without the frame padding. Okay. So now we're going to do is we're just going to match this guy up to this guy. So I'm just going to go ahead and I am going to go in here. If I hold Control and right click, you can see we bring up this different menu. So we're going to do, because I already have this edge selected. Whoops. I'm going to hold Control, right click, 2 faces. And then we'll do 2 contained faces. And that didn't do anything. 2 faces. 2 faces? That was more than I wanted. I just wanted to show you there's actually like other menus. But that didn't work out like I was hoping. So we're just going to go ahead and do this. So I'm just going to, easiest way for me to do it is click and drag like this, which grabs all that, but obviously more than I wanted. Then I'm going to hold Control, click and drag. Now, mind you, if you click, and if I hold Shift and click, that's toggle select. So if I wanted to grab everything but this one, I can select that one, hold Shift. Now I got everything but that, okay? If I want to only add, like I want to add this, if I hold Shift and go like that, see how it goes like that? If I hold Control and Shift, that only adds. If you do Control, it only removes, okay? So I'm just going to go like this. I'm going to hold Control. I just don't know what you guys know as far as hotkeys are concerned. That way it'll only unselect, but not accidentally select anything. There, we're going to hit Delete, and now we just have a tunnel. Okay. And what I want to do is take this guy. We're going to bring this one over. She didn't need to make this shape at all because I could have just used that. Oh, well. What are you going to do, right? Okay, and then I just want to make this roughly the distance of where this thumb's got to go in. So grab that. We need to combine it. We can't merge these together unless they're underneath the same shell. So we're going to do Mesh Combine, which is the 2 pieces of orange paper making love up here. We're going to grab this, double click. All right, hold Shift, double click. Click on my least favorite cousin, Bridget. There we go. All right. Now, we're going to go here, and basically there are my 6 edges. So I'm going to click on this one, click on this one, delete. Then we'll take this guy, and we're just going to scale it a little bit differently. So I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to scale it so it gets chunkier, like that. And then we'll scale it down, and then scale it, chunkier. And that looks weird. Come on, go to vertices. There you go. Let's go like that. It's weird looking, but you get the idea. Okay. Then we'll take this, and we're going to bring this guy over here. And I'm going to E, and we're going to rotate it. So this is going to be kind of at a weird angle because, didn't mean to do that. Alt X, is that what it was? Yeah. So there's, if you hit Alt X, it's like, if you can basically use WAS. It's not working. Oh, you have to hold it down. So you click and hold down, and you can use WAS. So the WASD, and then it's like moving in like a first-person game, which can be kind of neat. It's kind of like when you hold right-click inside of Unity, and you can use WAS, sort of like that. But it's Alt X, and I usually only use it when I accidentally click on it. Yeah, fingers are being really dumb today. Okay, so we'll put this over here roughly, something that's not quite right, like that. All right, so we're just going to try and get this. This could probably be a little bit bigger. Maybe I made it too fat. Let's make it a little bit thinner. Something like that, I guess. No, that look right. So try to get it at that downward angle. Just hold your hand. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. Remember, this is like the flat part of it. So let's make it a little bit bigger. Okay. A little bit thinner. I think that's okay. Okay. And then we're just going to do what we did before, just the bridging thing. This guy. Mesh combine. Ba-doop. Grab this, and let's hit. Oh, you know, I wonder if I could circularize. Let's try circularizing first. I don't know if that's going to be a good idea or bad idea. I'm going to vote bad idea, but I'm going to do it anyway. That was collapse. Circularize. That's pretty great. Okay, let's just kind of that. Scale it down a little bit. Move it. It looks terrible, but okay. So that one, and then we'll hit bridge. And that works great. Okay, let's try this again. I'm going to hit 3 just to make sure there's no weird things. Okay, there's not. So double click, hit bridge. Good. Now, your bridge may or may not be what you wanted it to look like. It's kind of dependent. You should be able to do the twist here, and that will allow you. So see, if I wanted to go the other way or this way. So if you find that they're all like slanted in one direction, like let's say I went too far, like they're all like went too far, you can use the twist to try and fix it. So mine actually was off. It was this way, and I actually wanted it this way. So that twist helped fix that, just so you are aware. Okay. From here, we're just going to go ahead and maybe pull this down a little bit. All right. This looks really great. It's really great. Okay. Something like that. It's not a great start. It's not a great hand, but it doesn't really need to be because we're going to be, like I said, sculpting it. We're just trying to build a base shape. So just try to think what your wrist would look like. That's what we're going to do there. Okay, so we'll call that a hand. All right, give me a hand. All right, let's go ahead and move the pivot right here. So I'm going to hold D and V, and I'm going to hold the middle mouse button. So I don't know if you knew this. So if I hold D and V, if I grab this, I can snap it like that, right? That's cool. But what if it's off screen? I'm like, I got to pull back. If you hold D and V, this works for anything. But if I hold D and V and then middle mouse button waggle, it'll snap to where I am. You can even do this. Like, watch. If I hold W, let's say I want to move it. I don't want to have to grab the manipulator, right? If I hold Shift and then middle mouse button, it'll go in whatever axis I start moving. So if I want to do the X, I'm going to hold Shift, middle mouse button, and then start pulling this way. See how it went up? Now watch. Hold Shift and then up. Oh, see, it's going that way. There we go. Got to kind of think it through. But see? So you can, and nice thing is, like I said, even if the manipulator's off, I can hold it and I can do it. Right? So, what the heck is that called? There's a name for it. I can't think of the name for it. A lot of other programs have that as well. I don't know if they've always had it, but it wasn't as useful before. But now it's definitely better than it was. All right, so let's go ahead and go like that. These hands are completely proportionate and accurate. Looks great. Those are probably the greatest hands I've ever seen. Let's go ahead and scale these guys down. Now, the purpose of the tutorial is that your character might be wildly different. If you're doing an animal or something, or an anamorphic character, or a dragon or something, that's fine. But I'm just doing a human because I feel like that's kind of the most base character that you could kind of make things from, right? I mean, that's kind of the typical. That's why I'm doing like a human guy, not a guy in armor, not whatever. I'm trying to just do something that would be a little bit easier. That would be generic enough that you guys can kind of follow along. So it's kind of hard because my dude's hands are not, not like. I guess that's right. Feels a little small. Maybe go a little bit bigger. Feels like it needs to be inflated a little bit, but whatever. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I just need to delete this so I can merge it. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to hit Shift-I, which is Isolate Selected. See how it says Isolate Person? Go here. I'm just going to grab these 4 and delete them. Whoop. Hit Delete. Now I got myself a hole. That's good. I'm going to have nothing selected. Hit Shift-I. That brings everything back. This is interesting. Oh, okay, it's fine. It had like the lines were like dashed. I thought maybe it was broken, but it's fine. Okay. So now what we're going to do is just combine these, select this, combine, double click, hold Shift, double click, and we are going to bridge it. That was not what I meant to click. Where are you, Polly Molly? Okay, and bridge. Boom. Okay. And if you look, see how this one's off. So I'm just going to go ahead and use that twist and twist it the other. There we go, like that. What I'm going to do also is just go ahead and I'm going to scale. This is a neat trick too. So let's say you got things that are really stark. If I grab both of these, you can go to mesh and then average vertices. Maybe it's edit mesh where you average vertices. And that will try to basically kind of smooth it out. It's really good for like cartoony characters. You can use it. In this case, I don't know how great it worked, but you know, whatever. I'm just gonna go ahead and move that this way so that I can scale this up a little bit. All right. I feel like this all needs to be fleshed out a little bit. I am going to try doing this. I'm gonna grab all of these. This is like a weird thing. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. But we're gonna give it a go. I'm gonna do the tool settings, and then I'm gonna change this from world to normal, and we're gonna grab them on the Y, wrong direction. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Let's try doing it. I don't think that's gonna be what I want. Yeah. Just think that's not gonna. Oh wait, there we go. So there's a neat little tool. So you see how he was like overly thin. So what I could do is switch. You know, normally we work in object, means going to base off the object orientation or world. There are other ones we never really use these. I just showed you custom earlier, but there's also normal. And what that means is that when you grab something, like let's say I grab this, notice that the position, the north position here is going to be in the direction, basically the normal direction. But what's nice is that if you have something that's like overly thin, like this hand here, like let's say I grab this, when I grab that, they're all going to go out, right? So it's almost like when we hit extrude and it moves based on the normal view, you can do that. So this just felt a little bit thin, so I just figured I could probably inflate it just a touch. Frame so I can see what I'm doing here. I don't want it to be cutting into each other. Let's hit 3. Because inevitably, there we go. What I don't want to have happen is this. I basically want to get it as puffy as I can because we're going to bring this into Mudbox. And so what you're going to do is if you hit 3 and get in that poly smooth mode, I want it to not overlap. So see how these are overlapping? It's going to be impossible to sculpt. So I want to go as far as I can while still leaving a gap. Now notice though, when I hit 1, there is no gap. I mean, some of them do, but for the most part, there's not. But when it does get poly smooth, it won't have that gap. Now, that being said, I'm going to go ahead and switch this back to object, just so you are aware. That is actually not equivalent to doing poly smooth. So if I select this and I poly smooth this, it will be close, but it won't be 100%. I don't know if you noticed, but this isn't quite what it looked like when I did the other one. So watch, let me show you. If I hit 3, see how this is actually a bigger gap, right? Then watch, when I did this and I hit poly smooth, see how this is tighter? So the reason I'm making a point about this is that this is, I think it's Ed Catmull Clark subdivision mode. Basically, Ed Catmull is one of the guys from Pixar. He's one of the original creators. I don't know if you're familiar with like John Lasseter. He's always the guy that gets all the credit. John Lasseter was the art side. Ed Catmull was the technical side. Anyway, I believe it's his algorithm. And it creates this sort of thing, but it's not the same algorithm as what's used for this. So it's not 100% because this is obviously a preview. This is a subdivision surface as opposed to actually being polys. Okay. So anyways, I just wanted to fluff that up a little bit. What time is it? Okay. So I'm going to do this next. I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of half my dude. I'm going to hold this. I'm going to hold shift double click. That should go all the way around. And then I'll hit delete. And you can see it left a little bit of stuff right where his crotch was. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab those and just hit delete. And now these pieces are separate. So if I double click on this, it'll grab the whole section. So watch, if I double click, it'll grab this whole, everything that's connected. So now that's separate. You could also just done this thing where we click and drag across. I'm just trying to show you multiple ways of doing things. Okay, grab all this, and I'm going to do the same thing as before. Double click on this edge, hit R, make sure it's flat. It is, because I'm amazing. I'm going to hold D and V and make sure the pivot is on that. Then we'll hit Control-Shift-D to duplicate special. Select both. Hit Merge. That's this button here. Actually, don't do that. We got to do combine first, mesh combine. Then go to vertices, select all of them, then hit the merge button. My bad. Okay. And now we have our dude who looks like a cartoon character or something. So he's going to need a little bit more polish. I'm going to do one more video where basically I polish it up just because this video got extremely long.